don't know what else to do with myself, so I eat. I can't help it. I don't know what's wrong with me. Just leave it alone because it's not working.
Reality TV often promises transformation, but on this show, it delivers confrontation in equal measure. From shocking outbursts to emotional revelations, the drama isn't just about weight loss. It's about the human spirit under pressure. Each cast member brings their own history, habits, and hot-button triggers. And when those collide with Dr. Now's uncompromising approach, fireworks happen.
And you're not finna disrespect me. I've been nothing but nice to your ass. You're not finna do me like that. Y'all ready to go? Because I'm ready to go. Let's go. Let's move.
Viewers don't just watch the scale drop. They watch tempers flare, defenses crumble, and truths spill out in the most intense, unfiltered ways imaginable. These are the most heated arguments ever captured on My 600-Pound Life. The confrontation Lisa couldn't escape. From the moment Dr. Now walked into Lisa Fleming's room, the tension felt almost immediate. Lisa had been struggling for years, depending on caregivers for nearly everything. And everyone hoped this stage of her journey would finally bring some change. But instead of progress, the situation slipped further. Her weight hadn't gone down. In fact, it had increased. And that set the stage for one of the most intense confrontations viewers still talk about.
You are at 704. That's very high. You thought you were at 642 when we talked, so you're a good bit off. And my concern is that if you start to the diet I send you, you should have easily been able to lose good amount of weight.
When Dr. Now asked about her eating habits, Lisa tried to explain that she was doing her best and following the plan the way she understood it. She insisted that the lack of movement and her depression made things harder than anyone realized. But Dr. Now wasn't only looking at her words, he was looking at the results. The scale didn't show effort, it showed the opposite. He listened, but he didn't hold back either.
I'm not even gonna fight you.
This is not up for debate. Even if all your tests come back okay today, you're gonna have to lose this weight because you're in a very dangerous situation right now.
The room went silent after that. Lisa stared back, shocked and emotional. She felt like she was being attacked rather than helped. From her perspective, living in that bed wasn't something she chose. It was something she ended up trapped in.
I'd rather you just send me back to my house and leave me alone because this is not helping me. It's not helping me.
What kind of help you need?
I'm trying, but this is not helping me.
She mentioned how losing her daughter had broken her emotionally, and food became the only thing she could control. For her, it wasn't just about eating. It was about coping. But Dr. Now had heard similar explanations before, and he needed her to understand that grief didn't change the reality of her health. Things escalated when she noticed the types of food still being brought into the house. Lisa claimed she wasn't the one asking for it, suggesting others were contributing to the problem. But Dr. Now wasn't interested in pointing fingers.
Take this seriously. If we don't get your weight down, you're going to die soon.
The argument wasn't just a clash, it was a wake-up call. By the end of the visit, the energy in the room had completely changed. The confrontation forced everyone to see the reality they had been avoiding. Whether Lisa agreed with him or not, the seriousness of her condition was no longer something that could be softened or ignored. That moment became a defining point in her journey, one where survival depended on acceptance, not defense. While one argument simmered down, another personality was ready to explode. James King, Defenses in Flames. James King's journey on the show wasn't just about the weight. It was about his defenses hitting full force under the spotlight. One of the most heated arguments erupted when Dr. Now called out years of enabling behaviors. James snapped back.
4 months is enough to lose 100 pounds. To get under 600 pounds.
Really?
Yes. You know, there's not much we can do for you.
The room practically vibrated with tension, as though the walls themselves were holding their breath. Staffers exchanged nervous glances. You could almost see the air crackle as Dr. Now didn't flinch, replying calmly but sharply.
All right, let's cut to the chase. I'm putting you back in the hospital immediately. And if you actually think he lost weight, we can see there.
Okay.
The confrontation spiraled quickly. James's frustration morphed into anger, pointing fingers and justifying his past choices.
I don't think the doctor's being fair. And I don't know why he thinks I look bigger. But he's wrong because I feel better and I know I'm smaller than when I started doing this.
Every exchange was a volley, the kind that makes viewers lean forward, gripping their seats, wondering if the wall of resistance would finally crack. This heated back and forth revealed 3 layers of tension. First, defensive aggression. James wasn't holding back, lashing out at anyone who questioned him, treating confrontation as a threat rather than an opportunity.
You know that I'm just now getting resources that I've been needing.
We're talking about your food. We're not talking anything
All
else.
of it. I've needed all of it, though, to start with. I haven't had home health. I've had nothing.
Are you telling me that to start?
Second, raw vulnerability. Beneath the anger, there was a flicker of fear, the realization that confronting his habits wasn't just uncomfortable, it was terrifying. Third, reluctant acknowledgement. When Dr. Now paused, James's voice cracked, and for a brief moment, the wall came down, showing that even the most defensive shell could contain a human being grappling with self-awareness. The argument highlighted not only James's personality, but also the broader dynamic of the show. When denial meets accountability, sparks fly. Dr. Now's approach, firm, factual, and unwavering, was a catalyst. He wasn't there to win a verbal battle. He was there to break through long-standing patterns, even if it meant enduring a storm of anger and deflection. James, in turn, forced a spectacle of emotion that reminded everyone watching why human transformation is rarely linear. Even as the confrontation wound down, the energy lingered. James's words left a mark. The staff felt it, the cameras caught it, and viewers at home could almost feel the emotional burn. The argument wasn't neatly resolved. It was messy, real, and raw, demonstrating that change doesn't come from comfort zones, but from friction.
What nutrition you need except the instruction that I gave you
Because
that
I'm
works,
having-
everybody else can follow them except you.
I had to retrain my body from eating cheeseburgers.
You gained 100 pounds and you're saying it's not your fault? You needed to retrain your body? Seriously? You're eating yourself to death and you don't want to quit that.
And while James had his moment of explosive honesty, somewhere beyond that stormy clash, there were other personalities, different struggles, and conflicts brewing. Someone would test patience in entirely new ways, refusing responsibility, clashing with authority, and challenging everyone to keep their composure. That kind of fire was waiting just around the corner, ready to ignite a confrontation unlike any seen before. James's meltdown set the stage, but the real fire was just ahead. Chaos Personified, Stephen Assanti versus the Clinic. Stephen Assanti's episode is nothing short of chaotic. From the second he enters the clinic, the tension is palpable. His energy alone seems to drain everyone in the room, and it doesn't take long before things start to unravel. Doctors try their best to remain calm. Family members plead with him, but Stephen has his own agenda. He isn't just resistant, he's combative. His presence feels like a storm rolling in, unpredictable, overwhelming, and impossible to ignore.
I'm feeling very weak. And if something happens to me, you're gonna be very sorry.
That line captures everything: his defiance, his anger, and the pure storm of emotions swirling inside him. It's a crystallization of the episode's central conflict. Someone refusing to acknowledge the danger of their own choices, while everyone else is desperately trying to guide them. The confrontation tone dominates the early part of the episode. Every suggestion is met with sarcasm, disbelief, or outright hostility.
You come here for health. And at this point, there's nothing I can do to help you. So you're done here.
You can almost feel the room vibrating with tension. Doctors exchange worried glances, staffers whisper to each other, and family members struggle to maintain patience. It's like watching two forces collide: Stephen's stubbornness versus everyone else's calm reasoning. You wince at every word, knowing that even a small spark could ignite an even bigger fight. But beneath the chaos lies a second tone: heartbreak. Stephen's family is desperately trying to reach him, their voices tight with anxiety and frustration. They beg him to consider the consequences of his choices, to imagine a life beyond instant gratification and denial, but their words seem to bounce off an invisible wall. There's a heavy sense of helplessness that pervades the episode. Watching them struggle to connect with someone they love so fiercely, yet feel powerless over, tugs at your emotions. It's not just drama. It's real human pain being broadcast on screen, and it hits hard. Amid the tension and heartbreak, there's also an almost absurd humor. Stephen's reactions are exaggerated and unpredictable. The way he flails his arms, the dramatic sighs, and the wildly over-the-top protests make the scene simultaneously cringeworthy and oddly captivating. It's a third tone that adds complexity to the episode. Yes, you're frustrated. Yes, you're worried. But you also can't help but watch, mesmerized by the spectacle.
Stephen, what's going on with your behavior? You got a whole host of complaints from the nurses that you need to change your behavior. You haven't.
I know that, and I apologize for it.
The culmination of these forces, anger, sorrow, and dark humor, creates a uniquely intense episode. By the end, viewers are left on the edge, unsure whether to laugh, cry, or simply shake their heads. Stephen's refusal to cooperate sets a precedent for tension on the show. When someone refuses to take responsibility entirely, the chaos doesn't just affect them, it ripples through everyone around them. And while Stephen's defiance may dominate the screen in this episode, it also sets the stage for even more fiery personalities yet to appear. Just beyond his storm, another individual will push boundaries, challenge authority, and test patience in a completely different way, proving that in this world, human stubbornness comes in many forms. If you thought defiance was extreme, wait till you see who's next. Excuses and outbursts. Inside Ashley Taylor's chaos. Ashley Taylor's time on the show is a masterclass in deflection and denial. From the moment staff tried to address her behaviors, it was like talking to a wall. Calm reasoning barely made a dent, and soon frustration started bubbling. The tension wasn't subtle. It radiated through every room she entered.
Now, I have a number of concerns about Ashley, because a lot of what she says doesn't add up or make much sense. And her behavior also indicates she's not being completely truthful to me about everything, because she says she already lost a significant amount of weight. And that's because her emotions make her want to eat less.
One of the most unforgettable scenes was when the staff confronted her about repeated rule breaking.
You know what? Y'all ready to go? Because I'm not doing this. I'm not. He's not finna talk to me like I'm crazy. I've been on the road all day to come to this appointment, and you not finna disrespect me. I've been nothing but nice to your ass. You not finna do me like that.
That line alone captured the essence of Ashley's heated confrontations. She was fully unwilling to take responsibility, and her defensive energy filled the entire room. The staff's tone shifted constantly, trying to balance firm guidance with empathy. One moment they were calm, explaining the consequences of her actions. The next, they were stern, letting her know there were limits to their patience.
So if you stick with the diet and you eat low calorie, you should lose more weight. Is that hard to understand?
Think about that really hard before you say that.
Oh my God. I need a minute, because this is going all wrong.
The audience could feel the oscillation. Sometimes you wanted to sympathize with Ashley, and other times You just wanted her to face the music. The conversational chaos between Ashley and the staff highlighted the clash between personal denial and external accountability. Ashley's behavior wasn't just dramatic, it had ripple effects. Other patients began watching her interactions, some frustrated, some silently amused. Her constant excuses created tension within the facility, and staff meetings often included discussions about how to handle her next outburst. This wasn't a single, isolated incident. It was a pattern, a consistent refusal to engage with reality. The heated argument moments became defining scenes, where she would escalate quickly from denial to yelling, sometimes throwing objects or storming out, leaving staff exasperated.
You get loud with me when I'm right here. We right here with each other. You're not gonna get loud with me. No, don't do that. I get what you're saying. I get the process. I get all of that, and I'm willing to comply. But you
okay
cannot
to
get
use
loud.
What made Ashley's confrontations particularly intense was the mix of humor and chaos. There was something oddly captivating about watching someone so determined to avoid responsibility, yet completely unable to escape the consequences. Viewers couldn't help but feel both frustrated and entertained, and that duality is what made her segment memorable. While the staff tried to maintain authority, Ashley's energy often tipped the scales, creating dramatic tension that felt almost cinematic. Even in quieter moments, the tension lingered. A simple conversation about behavior could erupt into accusations, tears, and frantic justifications.
No one talks to me that way. And so I understand, you doing your job. I get that. It's just the level of respect that has to be shown, because I've been nothing but nice to you. Even when you disrespected me, I've been nothing but nice.
Her resistance to guidance created constant friction, and staff had to adapt their strategies on the fly. By the end of her most notable scenes, you could feel the cumulative stress, but also the subtle humor in watching her try so hard to avoid facing facts. And while Ashley's fiery refusals kept everyone on edge, her next-door neighbor in chaos promised an entirely different kind of confrontation, one with a surprisingly sweet twist, hiding a sticky situation. Hold on to your seats. Someone else is about to turn stubbornness into an art form. Angie J. When chaos meets consequence. Few patients on my 600-pound life caused as much drama as Angie J. Between constant arguments, family tension, and defiance toward Dr. Now, her journey was as chaotic as it was unforgettable. From the very start, she made it clear that this would not be a straightforward path. Weighing over 600 pounds with severe obesity-related health issues, Angie arrived at Dr. Now's clinic with a mixture of hope and defiance, setting the stage for a roller coaster of emotions, confrontations, and tough choices.
I mean, I wouldn't say I'm an emotional eater, because I don't think that I am. I eat at bad times. I don't eat during the morning and afternoon because I drink coffee, which suppresses my appetite. I eat at night, and then I go to bed. I eat a lot at night because I'm hungry from not eating all day, and then I overeat.
Her early days on the program were marked by resistance. She repeatedly argued with Dr. Now, pushing back against his strict diet and exercise plan. Every recommendation was met with a combination of skepticism, sarcasm, and outright refusal, making the medical staff work twice as hard to keep her on track.
I'll give you one more chance.
I should have never came here.
Well, then why are you here? Why do you even want to do this?
I don't know.
In addition, family dynamics added fuel to the fire. Conflicts at home often spilled over into the clinic, and Angie's fiery temperament meant she frequently exploded in moments of tension.
I can't rely on nobody, but everybody relies on me. I'm tired. I'm tired.
I'm not saying
I knew
I'm
this
not
was
going.
stupid.
Viewers quickly realized that her journey wouldn't just be about shedding pounds. It would be a test of patience, persistence, and personal accountability. Amid the chaos, there were serious concerns about substance abuse. Routine toxicology tests revealed the presence of marijuana, along with traces of prescribed medication, which raised questions about her compliance with the program. Rather than accepting guidance, Angie became defensive and confrontational. One of her most memorable and heated moments came when she challenged Dr. Now about these findings. This perfectly captures her fiery personality, combative, defensive, and unable to accept responsibility for herself without challenging authority. Despite the chaos, Angie did make some progress. Over 8 months, she lost nearly 50 pounds under Dr. Now's supervision, a modest but notable achievement given her resistance to the program. Yet her behavioral issues and substance concerns eventually led to her being removed from the clinic's program.
You need to start by going to rehab. And if you agree to that, we'll set that up for you.
Okay.
But if you don't do that, then there is nothing more to discuss with you. So that's your only choice. You either do that or we're done.
At the time, it seemed her journey was derailed, leaving fans wondering if she would ever regain control. In later years, Angie proved that change was possible, though on her own terms. She lost an additional 252 pounds, transformed her lifestyle, relocated to Iowa, embraced sobriety, and began attending the gym. Her weight loss was significant, and she even pursued goals like skin removal surgery, showing that despite her previous chaos, she was capable of dedication and growth. Still, her personality remained a focal point for fans, a mixture of determination, volatility, and candid honesty that kept her story compelling. Angela Jones's journey is remembered not only for the numbers on the scale, but for the chaotic, fiery energy she brought to the show. Her story shows that transformation is never just physical. It's emotional, psychological, and sometimes a battle against one's own habits. Angie J remains one of the most unforgettable figures in my 600-pound life, proving that even amidst chaos, change is possible, and courage can emerge in the most unpredictable ways. Every clash, every fiery exchange is a lesson in facing uncomfortable truths. Who do you think owned up the fastest? Which scene left you speechless? Don't forget to subscribe for more drama and insight. True change begins when you confront your own behaviors